immediate. As soon as I hear it, change the station, whatever. Saw my ear off.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Listography. Jason, Joe, and Crams are here. Happy Friday. Happy Yes release day. Just a quick reminder to everybody that the Yes Listography is coming up Tuesday. So we'll be listening to the new record today. I'm sure all of you will be as well. But before that, we got to get to 1972, Songs of the Year. I love 1972, but I think it's pretty clear that the Hot 100 continues to trend downward, but I still found plenty of good songs. I'm ready to get into it. You guys got any thoughts before we start the picks?
I agree with your 72 comment. It's getting tough. Like, I have 5 or 10 or 20 songs that I'd love to include, but they didn't chart. I don't know what the hell was wrong with America in 72, but they're picking the wrong songs here.
Agreed. A few weird ones that did chart. So I agree with Joe agreeing with you, but it is 1970 whatever, so it's an amazing year because every year in the 70s was. So it's rock and roll, baby.
Yeah, I think there's a big divide between the radio formats here, and a lot of the album artists aren't releasing singles, so they don't qualify for the Hot 100 and that sort of thing going on. But who wants to start with the Hot 100 picks?
I will go first. Really wanted to get a couple of tunes from Exile that charted. Tumbling Dice Are Happy, but didn't make it. Sticking with a couple of rock classics and one big shocker from me. And I'm only going with 4 billboards because my favorite song of 72 did chart. But here's what I got. From my album of the year, I've got Honky Cat by Elton John. Really cool, kind of like burlesque kind of jazz piece. It's one of his more like flamboyant kind of performances. I think it's really got a lot of showmanship behind it. It's got like a really cool old school kind of like southern piano beat to it, but he's like mostly singing about being a duck out of water. Very awesome. I'm also going to go with, speaking of Yes, and the song I was referring to, Can't Believe charted, Roundabout. Excellent song. You know, it's got that just gross Chris Squire bass part on it. So tight and just in the pocket with the drums, and I love it. And you know, this sort of Yes song is so interesting and so complex, but it's also like one of the more approachable things. I mean, no one's gonna, enter Yes being like, ooh, an 18-minute song with 42 movements in it. That sounds great. I will give this a shot. But this is a good one to get started on. Happy that it charted. I'm also gonna go with Heart of Gold by Neil Young. We talked a lot about it in the Neil Young song or Neil Young video. It is just an absolutely fantastic song, and it's got that amazing, warm, kind of rustic 70s production on the album, and it never really sounded better with that little steel pedal kind of haunting in the background. I love it. And then my shocker, with all of the other rock hits I could have picked, I'm going with something nice and groovy. I'm going with the Staple Sisters with I'll Take You There. I've always loved the song. I think it's got great beat. I just think it's got really cool style. I love the bass on it. It sends a shockwave through my whole body. Love the style, love the feeling, and I dig it a lot. Always have. Made my list.
I'll do 5 from my billboards. I'll keep my number 1 from my personal ranks, the P rank. My number 5, I got an Elton John on here. I got Rocket Man. Love the bass work. I love how it kind of shifts from like that real sparse, kind of spacey beginning. And then, it gets even spacier. You get those like weird sound effects, the guitar slides or whatever it is. And I got to shout out Elton John's band, as I always do, because their backing vocals are just so good on this song. All songs, but I love them on this song. It's a great song. Number 4, we're kicking off, getting some power pop finally. Maybe the progenitors of power pop. I got Go All the Way from the Raspberries. Just so catchy, infectious, kind of dirty, a little raunchy, all the good stuff that, power pop, rock, whatever this genre is supposed to have. Number 3, one of my favorite artists, and I wish he had more songs charting in this year, but I got Superstition by Stevie Wonder. I love the Horner clavinet. Talking Book's one of my all-time favorites. Just an undeniably cool song. Mostly just him, couple horns. That's all you really need. My number 2, I'm going back to Elton for Tiny Dancer, which came out last year but charted in 72. You know, just the great piano line, one of my favorite piano parts of his. Great pedal steel, great vocals. You know, you can't not think about the scene in Almost Famous, which makes it like even better somehow. And my number 1, though, I got to go back to my boys in the Dan, Steely Dan, Reelin' in the Years. Love that ferocious kind of like overdriven guitar tone in the intro. I love the cynical lyrics. It just has all the good stuff that you want from Steely Dan, all in one incredibly catchy song. Right? It's just probably one of their catchiest, in my opinion, if not their catchiest composition. So they could do it all.
All right. My Hot 100, I, like Cramser, have my winner coming from the charts this year. My first pick is going to be Doctor My Eyes from Jackson Browne. Just really, really well-written song. Really well recorded, too. It sounds like it came from like more like the late 70s. It really present, really forward. Maybe it's just remastered well or something, but it sounds really great. Crosby and Nash on backing vocals, Russ Kunkel on drums, Jesse Ed Davis on guitar. The star of the show, though, Leland Sklar on bass. One of his best bass lines, killer. This went to number 8 on the charts. It was Jackson Browne's only top 10 hit of the 70s. He wouldn't make the top 10 again until 1982. I knew Joe was going to go with the Raspberries. I also have a Raspberries track, but I'm going a different direction. I got Don't Want to Say Goodbye. This one more of like a power ballad, although there's not really much in the way of like powerful guitars or anything on it. Just a big, soaring, epic ballad. Terrific melodies. And it's so dramatic. You're like a minute and a half into the song, and it feels like it's just like soaring, and it feels like it should be like the outro, like the climax of the song. And then you realize like, we haven't even hit the first chorus yet. It's incredible. It just keeps going up and up and up, and it's great. After that, I'm going with an artist who I would say underperformed in my albums of the year series, but so far performing much better in songs of the year. I got Paul McCartney with Hi Hi Hi. He had a couple not so great singles in this year, like Give Ireland Back to the Irish and Mary Had a Little Lamb. But this one, really cool, kind of a silly song, but I think it's fun and a good reminder that McCartney, you know, can rock with the best of them. He gives a really good rock vocal performance here. And the guitar work from McCartney himself, Denny Lane, and Henry McCulloch are all really good. And then I'm going with Couldn't I Just Tell You by Todd Rundgren. He had a couple of Hot 100 singles in this year. And I think of the songs that are still sort of really in the public consciousness, this one's kind of faded. I mean, you got Hello, It's Me and I Saw the Light, which are much more well-known still today. But this is definitely my favorite. I love the way the guitars sound. I think it's just so catchy and awesome. I think it's a perfect pop rock song. And a killer guitar solo, too, with the harmonized leads. Todd playing all of the instruments himself on this, and it's just awesome.
I thought for sure that Doctor My Eyes was going to be your number 1, especially 30 seconds before you revealed that. You were like, it's going to be up the Billboard. I was like, it's going to be. But maybe it's the same one I got. But let's go into the deep cuts, guys, shall we? When we were texting throughout the week, I thought there might be a chance that I would be the first one of us to pick all 10 of my tracks and not get anything from my 5 nominated albums. But that's way out the window now. However, here's a few from albums didn't make my top 5 in 72. I'm going to go off Can't Buy a Thrill and go with Do It Again, Steely Dan. I love it. Love the electric sitar. I think that just really steady rhythmic flow to it is just so cool. And the octaves he's hitting sounds really cool. It's got a great just a great savviness and great jazziness to the vocals in the chorus. But for me, it's all about that electric sitar solo. I'm also going to go from For the Roses by Joni, Cold Blue Steel, and Sweet Fire. Great sounding little acoustic guitar parts. Awesome, really low key song, but it's got so many different elements. It's dramatic. It's kind of like dangerous sounding because of the content, obviously. And it's also just got like a cool, like old school kind of R&B and like kind of darker kind of blues rockin' vibe without being like heavy hard rock song, because just of the way she kind of does the chord progression. I think it's great. And it's all just layered with like her cool icy vocals, gives you like, it's really chilling and mysterious. I think it's great. Another album that didn't make my list, but I'm going to pull from Volume 4 by Sabbath. I got Changes, a really cool piano ballad that's unlike most other pieces of their catalog. Really just simple. And if anyone ever tells you that Ozzy is not a great singer, it's a load of shit. And you can tell by this song. He sounds great. His voice sounds amazing. And you can really get the emotion. It's hard to imagine anyone else really singing this better than he does. And finally, 2 more from albums that I did get. From Pink Moon, the closing track by Nick Drake, From the Morning, just a really sensational, peaceful song. It's just incredibly freeing. It like opens up your soul. He's always got like that really just kind of transcendent traveling vibe to it. Like you can just picture yourself like hitchhiking on the cliffs of Ireland or somewhere in the UK with just kind of like an overcast sky. He paints such a good picture and has such vivid imagery with just his little guitar parts. It's so cool. I love it. It's such a vibe. And then another song off of Honky Chateau. I've got Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters. So now 4 songs represented by Elton John so far. And Elton is the king of these times, really. It's a tremendous little piano ballad. And, you know, I just love the lines about sons of bankers, sons of lawyers turn around and say good morning to the night. Elton just always is able to write these songs with Bernie and just kind of create, or really just not create, but capture these fleeting moments that you'll like eventually look back on, and kind of just somehow makes it so present in your mind. I think it's just beautiful. The piano's terrific. So those are my 5, but like I said, the Billboard is gonna have my winner.
Yeah, this is so tough. There's so many good songs that I couldn't leave out. So many album cuts, especially like friggin' like Bowie. Only one of his great songs from Ziggy Stardust charted in this year. There's like 4 Todd Rundgren songs I love that one charted like next year, one charted this year, 2 didn't chart. Like you can't win with these people. My number 5 is going to be from a band most people probably have never even heard of, and I've recently come to really like them. They're very cool. I got Borrowed Time by Fanny. Kind of sounds like the Faces and the Beatles got together. It's a all-female band. It's like this cool, like bluesy vamp, real like kiss off kind of song. Really cool, little like glam in there, horns, great piano. Really cool. Fanny's pretty hit or miss, but this song just absolutely rules. I listened to it 8 times in the car on the way home just to make sure it was going to make my list, and it still holds up. Number 4, I'm going to go with, this is tough. This is so tough. I'm going to go with Sabbath on this. I got to go with my favorite, I think, second favorite Sabbath song, Snowblind. Just a great song about just doing a whole bunch of cocaine. I love the symphony orchestration that comes in at the end. It's a really great performance from Ozzy, great singing. You know, it's Black Sabbath. You know what they sound like. Number 3, I'm going to go with Bobby Womack, Across 110th Street. Another track from the Jackie Brown soundtrack. It delivered a lot of joy into my life. It's just like a blaxploitation film, like set to a 3-minute song. Super catchy, just really great. Number 2, I am going to get a Bowie on here. I got to go with my favorite, spoiler, Bowie song, Moon Age Daydream. Ridiculous solo from Mick Ronson. It sounds like he's like being sucked into a black hole. The string arrangement, like it's all weird at the end too. It's just so spacey and awesome. Great year for space rock, between that and Rocket Man. But number 1 will be saved for the number 1 section.
All right. My deep cuts, I've got one in common with Cramser here. I got Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters. Really powerful, direct song. One of my favorite Elton John songs. Pretty minimal instrumentation. Good example of doing a lot with a little. There's basically just piano, bass, a little mandolin. Great lyrics, great delivery. I think it's one of his best vocal performances, even though it's not like technically like super impressive or anything. It's just, I think, really just direct and emotional. I've also got Turn On Your Radio by Harry Nilsson, next to basically McCartney and Brian Wilson. Nilsson is one of my favorite melody writers. The melody to this is so strong. You've got Nicky Hopkins on keyboards or playing piano, Peter Frampton on guitar, Klaus Vormann on bass, a great horn section, and you almost don't notice any of that. It's just, it almost seems like an a cappella vocal performance of just a beautiful melody. And I think the lyrics are great. I got Rundgren again on my deep cuts with It Wouldn't Have Made Any Difference, which I think is just a masterclass in songwriting and production. Tremendous song. And there's so many little touches that he does in the studio with this. There's like chimes, and he's playing triangle, and he's layering the backing vocals all himself. I don't know if anyone's ever been better at layering their own vocals than Todd, and it's so well done here. Then I've also got Give Me Another Chance by Big Star, one of my favorite songs on an album full of songs that I love. The lyric, "You got sad because I got mad," could in other hands just be a total terrible clunker of a line, but I think it's delivered so well, and there's like so much emotional honesty to it that he's delivering it with such conviction that, I mean, that's all you really need. That's the truth. He did get sad and she did get mad, and that tells the whole story, and it's awesome. You don't really need to dig for something deeper or more clever than that. It's just a gut punch of a song. And then my last deep cut is a song that was a real toss-up. It was between this and the one that I'm going with from my Hot 100. Either one could have gotten the win, but coming up just short is Rock and Roll Suicide by David Bowie. I think it's one of the best album closers of all time. Also, possibly the best Bowie's voice ever sounded. He's just belting it out, screaming, "You're not alone." It's just an anthem for any outcast, and I think Bowie was the perfect person to be doing that. It's perfect rock and roll. I love it.
Man, the playlist for this year is going to be insane on Spotify. Shall we talk about some nonsense, gentlemen? Some utter garbage. We ready? I am going with my apparent perennial dud of the 70s. I'm going back to Donny Osmond with Puppy Love. I hate this MFer's voice. I really do. It is nails on a bleeding, vomited on chalkboard. I hate it. And the original works because it's, got the charm of someone looking back or like talking about a relationship with the innocence of a child. But it sounds like a puppy singing about puppy love. It sounds just so dumb. He lost the entire point of the song. Justin Bieber, way ahead of its time, and makes Justin Bieber seem like Frank Sinatra with his wisdom and maturity. I just cannot stand Lil Donny Osmond. I hate it. I hope he has a song every year until he falls out of favor so I can just keep giving him the rub and the elbow off the bus. Can't stand him. I would never hit a kid, but if I were forced to.
Okay, so you hate Donny Osmond. I'm going back to, I don't want to do it like Kramser. Like Osmond, that's too easy. I'm going to go for a song I really don't like that I think other people like and is still popular, put on the radio. I got to go with A Horse with No Name by America. This song has always just really bugged me. I don't hate America. I like plenty of the other songs. But this kind of like Neil Young ripoff always kind of bugged me. Lyrics are garbage. The song just has like this weird kind of, I don't know, it just feels like a ripoff. And I've always hated it. I don't think I've ever made it through the whole song. It's just immediate. As soon as I hear it, change the station, whatever. Saw my ear off. Whatever I have to do to escape this song, I will do.
I'm going back to the Donny Osmond well again as well with Puppy Love. It's so bad. His voice, just so bad. You nailed it, Cram. Perfect analysis of a terrible song.
Honest to God, I mean, you'd have to look at Three Dog Night to find a worse singer than Donny Osmond. It's rough. All right. Well, let's transition into an amazing vocal performance, which is going to be illustrated by my winner, a song that made the Billboard It is going to be Tupelo Honey by Van Morrison. His voice sounds like honey, but just like he's crying with just honey in his throat. The emotional performance that he does here is so big and wailing and affectionate without being over the top or too broad or too bombastic. And the playing in the background is just absolutely sensational. Really soft drum work. The little guitar parts and leads in between the verses are great. The just appropriately timed out "She's an Angel" background that just punctuates it so great. There's a cool, simple little guitar solo in it. I think the lyrics are so charming and understated, and it's just so appropriately familiar with, nothing too flowery or fancy. All the tea in China is, a phrase that is beaten to death, but it's just so well done because it's just such a comfortable, familiar sort of love story. Like you can almost just tell it's just about one person. It's written for one person. It's so intimate and so well crafted. I just love it. I think he sounds amazing on it. And man, I'm just a sucker for this era, for just those little organ hums that go throughout songs, like in this or in like Whiter Shade of Pale, whenever the band does it, when you just really something that is probably never going to happen again in music is just that use of just pretty romantic organ in the background. And this song just is sensational. I love it. I love the shadowy, jazzy nightclub kind of vibe to it. It's gorgeous. Well done, Van Morrison. You've not been great in the news lately, but it's okay.
That could deliver you a win for the first time in a decade, it seems like. I actually kind of forgot that song, that it charted this year. I don't know if it would take out Rocket Man, but it might have snuck onto my list if I'd remembered that it existed in this year. My favorite Van Morrison song by far. But I got to talk about my winner. It's funny that Jason mentioned artists singing against themselves, because I did write down actually in my notes that I believe this is the artist best ever at singing against his own backing vocals. Of course, I'm talking about Stevie Wonder, and he had two amazing albums in this year, Music of My Mind and Talking Book. Both fantastic. I'm going with the closing track from Talking Book, I Believe When I Fall in Love It Will Be Forever. I just think it's one of the definitive statements by one of the greatest solo artists ever. It's just him, nobody else. He did every instrument. He spent all that time under Motown. He had hit after hit after hit. And finally he got creative freedom, and he just bursting. It's like when George Harrison broke free of the Beatles and had, a 3-disc album. Stuff is just pouring out of Stevie. And I think this is just amazing. Beautiful love song, incredible Horner clavinet. He's playing Moog bass. I think he's one of the best synth bass players ever. And it's just kind of Stevie singing against himself when it kind of breaks down. And he's doing like 5 different vocal parts, and they're all kind of like different styles of singing, and they always kind of just bouncing off each other. Sounds amazing. I love his voice, love everything he does. And then at the last 30 seconds, it kind of changes into this like upbeat, kind of like funky, not disco, but like this real funky kind of, I don't know, change up. And it's a real kind of cool way to end the album on kind of a upbeat note instead of a lovey, sappy kind of, not sappy, but it's a cool way to mix up the song a little bit. And I just think it's a great song. It's my favorite Stevie Wonder song. And there's like 5 or 6 tens on between those 2 albums. So I'm gonna go with this one. I don't think it's gonna win, but I gotta give it to Stevie.
You got to pick him soon to do a listography. So, I mean, I know some Stevie Wonder and I always like it, but I feel like if we do a deep dive, I'm going to come out pretty close on your end. So you got to pick it soon. We're not going to pick it.
Another artist where he has so many albums, because he started when he was like 12 years old. So you got to, like, by the time he's in 1970, he's already had like, I think this was like his 9th, 10th album. So he's already produced all this stuff, all these great singles. And he finally had some number 1s on Talking Book with Superstition and Sunshine of Your Life. But yeah, I'll get him on there soon. Don't worry.
I got to tell you, I love that song. Also my favorite Stevie Wonder song. It almost made my list. I thought I would blow some minds getting some Stevie Wonder coming from me, but couldn't quite get it on. Everyone's got to know what my pick is for the winner now that we've gotten here. My winner is All the Young Dudes. Everyone knows the story. Mott the Hoople was about to break up. Their bass player over in Watts tried to audition for Bowie, and he said, "You can't break up. I'll give you a song." They initially turned down Suffragette City. This was the second song he offered. Ian Hunter says that when he heard it, he knew immediately that it was going to be a hit. But I find that hard to believe because there is so much about the song that is just, it feels like the recording is as important as the song itself. That lead guitar part, I mean, I don't know if that was there when Bowie showed it to them, but that is just a classic, iconic opening lead. The organ sounds great. The way the backing vocals sound, Ian's ad-libs near the end of the song where he's like shouting at the crowd. I mean, all of that stuff adds up to making it as good as it is. It's all perfect. I love it. I mean, it's a great song too, but I can't imagine hearing it played on an acoustic guitar and knowing for sure that it would be the song that saves your band. But however it happened, it's awesome. I love it. It's my favorite of 72.
It's maybe the first year since like God Only Knows where I love every single winner. Both of those songs, I have it like 9.9 out of 10, like just off, strongly considered. And I would have strongly considered Tupelo Honey if I remembered.
I have just been showering these lists with Rolling Stones, and then Exile comes out, which is probably the most critically acclaimed album of theirs, and I can't get anything off of there. But Exile's a little different. It kind of plays more as one whole entity rather than, just having bangers like Sticky Fingers or Let It Bleed or something. But I mean, there are great individual tracks, no doubt.
That's how I felt about my album of the year winner, The Slider. Didn't get any selections from it. It's in my top 5 favorite albums of all time. I love that album, but there's not like that one song that just stands out above the other ones. It's more of a collection.
Yeah, we're likely to run into that problem in the rest of the 70s with some of those hard rock albums like Toys in the Attic and stuff like that. I feel might not get represented, but we'll see.
I keep running into it with prog. Like I wanted to get a Yes song on here, but like, how do you separate out 9 minutes of a 3-song, 40-minute album? Like, it doesn't feel right. Like it all has to be together. Like, you can't pull out. Roundabout was a good one though. That's one of the few that can like stand on its own.
Well, I had Heart of the Sunrise in 71 too. But that probably will be it, maybe until the 80s, because they've got some pop gems in the 80s. I know people don't want to hear that, but tune in next week for Yes to see what we think about that.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. No more spoilers here. Any final thoughts? We good to go?
Just like to say I won last week when the levee breaks. So it puts me up at six wins. Jason's still with 7.5. Cramser 3.5, but I feel strongly he could take the win this week.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. As always, let us know what you think of our picks. Drop your own picks down below. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet. Hit the bell for notifications. Check the description for links to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And of course, for the Songs of the Year series, you can go to our website and vote for which of our Song of the Year is your favorite. We've also got playlists down there for you to check out all of these songs if you're interested. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Tuesday with our listography of Yes.